Can XRP reach $10,000 per token? I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a macroeconomist, and I'm not an expert by any sense of the matter. But what I can do is convey my opinion. And in this video, I'm going to play a clip from these guys and show you why I think that they make some very, very good points for a $10,000 XRP. So we're going to get into this video real quick. And if you are not liked and subscribed to these guys, maybe consider that. Also, if you are not liked and subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate a like and a follow and a subscribe. And leave a comment and let me know how you think I'm doing.
Today we have a very detailed deep dive on XRP and the mathematics behind it. For starters, most people look at XRP and they see a cryptocurrency. That's all they understand, that's all they see. They think it's a token to trade, to buy low, sell high, maybe even speculate on it. That's what the ETFs are for. But that's the massive misunderstanding behind it. I've always said XRP was engineered to be a global liquidity bridge, a tool for moving trillions and trillions of dollars across borders, across currencies, and even across markets and economies. Its price.
So real quick, I do want to touch on that. A lot of people will say, if banks are going to just use the XRP ledger, what do they even need XRP for? And I think we need to remember that XRP is the bridge currency between these two assets. And so it's important to remember what we hold and why we hold it.
Isn't going to be set by the retail market. It's simply going to be determined by mathematics, by its fractionalization, meaning its divisibility, and of course the macroeconomics behind supply and demand. Today in this video, I'm going to try my best to break down how this is achieved step by step and how XRP could reach $10,000, how could it reach $50,000 or even higher, and why this is not fantasy or a guess. It's actually a logical outcome of its design. Let's start with fractionalization. This is one of XRP's most important core innovations and features, you could say, because if each XRP can be split into 1 million units called drops, that means if XRP hits $10,000 per token, one drop would technically be just 1 cent. Think about the implications. Example, someone can pay you a cup of coffee with a fraction of a drop. Let's talk about mega payments, and this is institutional transfers, like a $1 billion cross-border settlement. It wouldn't require you moving billions of tokens of XRP, only tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands depending on the price. Whether it be stocks, gold, or even Bitcoin, I'm telling you, they lose practicality as their price rises because you can't transact in very tiny fractions as efficiently as you can with XRP compared to Bitcoin. It's the XRP ledger that is designed to scale with that value and not just the volume. Another thing we need to consider is liquidity efficiency. When you start to talk about liquidity, that is the lifeblood of any settlement network. It doesn't matter what technology you're talking about. Now, liquidity in XRP isn't just about how many tokens exist on the network, it's about how much value can each of those tokens move efficiently. Let's take a simple example. A $1 billion cross-border payment at $1 per XRP requires 1 billion XRP. Now, at $10,000 per XRP, that same payment only requires 100,000 XRP. So what does this really mean? The implications for this are so important because it means lower slippage. You're going to have lower slippage if you can move fewer tokens, reducing the price impact. You're going to have lower volatility because you have less supply moving through the network, which stabilizes the system. Number 3 would be faster settlements. If you need fewer units, then faster finality is going to happen. In other words, a higher XRP price increases the liquidity efficiency rather than reducing its utility. That means the more expensive XRP becomes, the easier it is for institutions and individuals to move massive amounts of wealth or value without destabilizing the network. And that ties us into global supply versus the demand. This is where scarcity meets the necessity. If you look at the global liquidity demand, there are 100 billion in XRP total. You can't produce any more. Now, let's consider the scale of global finance. And this is just some. I don't have time to go into too much detail here. But the FX market alone is $7 trillion per day. The derivative markets are over 700 trillion, and cross-border payments is 150 trillion per year or more. So even if XRP only bridges 1% of these transactions, that means to be recognized as a global reserve asset for settlement, it would still need to represent all those trillions and trillions of dollars in value at any given time. Here's the math behind this. If 1% of 150 trillion equals to 1.5 trillion in transactions annually, that means if only 25 billion of XRP are effectively circulating for these settlements, each XRP would represent $60,000 in bridged value. This is why XRP's high price is not speculative, it's mathematically necessary to fulfill its intended role and support the system it was designed to. Another important aspect of XRP is the fractionalization in institutional settlements. Banks and central banks transact in drops, not whole XRP tokens. This fractionalization means that the system can handle micropayments and macro settlements simultaneously. So if you think of this like tokenized gold, you have to look at it like this. If a single ounce can be backed by thousands and thousands of dollars in derivative claims, that's how the gold market works, XRP works the same way, just digitally. One token can represent millions in global settlements, while still allowing everyday payments at the smallest fractions, and that's why this is important. This is what drives its utility-driven valuation. The most critical piece of the puzzle is XRP's value that comes from its utility, not from the headlines behind it. Its price isn't set by hype or cycles or retail traders. Again, it's going to be determined by its velocity. How fast and efficiently will value move through this network? The other thing is adoption by institutions. We can check that mark off the box. We have central banks, we have payment providers, and we have tokenized economies and markets that are still emerging. And this ties us into the macro demand. And when you look at the total global liquidity requirements XRP can bridge, that means when XRP reaches this stage, and we're almost there, the Clarity Act will finalize and greenlight the rest of the process. It stops being a token. It gets probably knocked out of the retail market, and it becomes a monetary instrument, and that reflects the size of the economy it has to support, not the whims of retail traders. And I don't listen to retail traders because they think in such a narrow-minded view. So here's the takeaway. XRP's fractional divisibility will ensure its usability at any price. Its finite supply will guarantee its scarcity, and its role as a global liquidity bridge will ensure that the price and the high adoption naturally will drive the price up even higher. So the XRP price is infinite if you really think about it, but I think that will be clear over time for people to understand what I'm talking about there. So XRP hitting 10,000 or 50,000 or beyond is not fantasy. It's all mathematical outcomes of its design.
Shout out to Black Swan Capitalists. This is probably one of the most clear and concise explanations on why XRP could actually hit 10K. The study and the effort that was put into this video is bar none. This is some of the best crypto alpha I've ever seen. The changing world order, the financial system has been completely flipped on its head. And by 2030, I think that we will see a completely new transformed financial system, completely unrecognizable from anything that our parents or our grandparents ever saw before. 10K is a pretty astronomical figure, but this is why I think we have no idea what's coming. And I think that if you own even a small portion of XRP right now, you're set for life. I think retail will eventually get pushed out of XRP, so you need to get in now and you need to pack your bags. So at the time of recording, XRP is at 135, and man, you better take advantage. You better stock up if you haven't been packing your bags, which most of the XRP community has had their bags packed for years, and they're already ready for this. They know what they're holding, and they've known what they've been holding for quite some time. And so if you're new to XRP, you're running out of time. Pack up your bags because this is a finite supply, and it will run without you if you're not positioned correctly. So let me know in the comments what your price predictions are for XRP. Are you bullish on this? Do you even think that this is possible? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope your portfolios are doing well. And I hope you guys are positioning yourselves to be the highest earners out of this next bull run. If you're diamond handing through this bear market, let me know. That's going to do it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, God bless.